revolution ain't dead. It's still alive. It's still alive. How many know there's still a revolution? Brothers and sisters taking a stand, standing up for what's right and demanding equality. How many know that we were never set free? We've got to join together as one, or we're gonna fall together as many. We've got to set our differences aside and let unity be our guide, and everything will be alright.
Now, when we first organized the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, he would say, Bobby, he says, we're going to draw up a basic platform, just basic, so black people can read. He says, we don't want to go real elaborate with all these essays and dissertations and all this stuff, because the brother gonna look at that and he can say, man, I ain't got time for that. I gotta go see what I can do for myself. He said, just a basic platform that the mothers who struggle hard to raise us, that the fathers who worked hard, that the young brothers in school who come out of school semi-illiterate, reading broken words. He said, we just want a basic platform to outline black people's basic political desires and needs. First, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. We want all black men held in county, state, federal jails and prisons to be released because they have not had a fair trial, because they've been tried by all white juries, and that's just like being tried in Germany being a Jew.
The fallen soldiers, and I salute you. Where are the fallen soldiers? Can I salute you? When society tries to tell you that you ain't gonna make it, you better stand up for your rights and tell them that you ain't gonna take it. You can win, even if society tells you you're going to fail. You better tell them no, you can't fail. No, 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 you can't fail. Woo. You're gonna make it. What about all the fallen soldiers Fred have done?
I think as a summary, we should say it's very important that the conspiracy trial be stopped and that Chairman Bobby be freed, and that all these bogus, trumped up charges against the chairman be dropped. It's also important that the people in the peace movement begin to more so identify with the Black Panther Party, because people that believe in peace and people that want peace should deal and support very vigorously peacemakers. The Black Panther Party must be defined. It has to be, out of necessity, defined as peacemakers, because we deal with defending ourselves and the people against those who break the peace, break the peace, break the peace.
Angela Davis, you know that I salute you. H-Rap Brown, you know that I salute you.
How can you tell black people to be nonviolently and at the same time condone the sending of white killers into the black communities? It's something wrong. We are going to control our communities by any means necessary.
Welcome to Word from the Point. My name is Kwame Bencher, and I thank you for tuning in to our broadcast. This is our second show of our 6-week run here in Richmond, Virginia. And we're going to be covering different topics and different subject matters along this 6 weeks that we're here. Our show is called Word from the Point because basically we're out here on the front lines gathering information and working to change the conditions that we live in here in the United States and on a global scale as African people. A little bit about myself, we've been doing this show since the 90s. Every once in a while we take a few years off, quite a few years off, but we come back because there's a lot of information that we need to share with the people that you're not going to really get on your mainstream media. So that's why we call this Word from the Point. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a member of the Universal Negro Improvement Association organization government, founded by the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey. And our organization, we're aimed to basically teach people, African people, to love themselves and start doing for ourselves and stop, walking around with our hand out, begging for people to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves. Also, I'm a member of the November Coalition organization fighting to end the war on drugs, America's longest war, the war on drugs that's devastated our communities here and abroad. That's another subject matter. We're not going to go all into that today, but also I'm a member of the Virginia Hemp Company, which is a company that we just founded about a year ago, and we're going to have the founder here next week talking about this company that's getting ready to change the dynamics here in Virginia and hopefully on a global scale on how we treat this plant. So today we're going to have a very special guest. Our topic matter today is going to be basically talking about African-centered education, because I truly believe that our children are not getting the proper education in public schools because basically the curriculum that they're being taught promotes the myth of white supremacy. And I use the word myth of white supremacy because there's no such thing as white supremacy. It's just a mental thing, that's taught to us. So we embrace it like it's something real, but really it's not, because they're not superior to us. No one's superior to anybody. So I coined that phrase, the myth of white supremacy, and the importance of us educating our children to give them the basic tools that they need to survive out here, because whether you want to believe it or not, we're at war. We're at a spiritual war, and we're at economic war. We're an educational, intellectual war. It's going on. It's a cultural war trying to destroy our African way of life, which is basically truth, justice, harmony, and balance, and reciprocity. And that's how we try to live on a daily basis. I'm grateful that I woke up from the Matrix years ago and don't continue down that journey. And without further ado, I'm going to welcome my guest onto the show, and she's going to basically tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're going to get into what the school, little information about the school, why it was founded, the purpose of it, what they're doing, and why we're doing it. So without further ado, I'd like to present Sister Adia Shabazz.
I appreciate that. My name is Adia Shabazz. There are a few things. My background is in education. I taught in the public school system for about 6 or 7 years. I am a licensed minister, and between those two things, so I've had a chance to see children in different places and work with families in different places. While I was educating, it became very clear to me that I did not want to raise my children, put my children in that system, and that was before I ever had them. So when I left public education, and my husband and I got married, and when we did finally have children, I knew that was not where they were going to be. And I'll go into a lot of that later. I knew that was not where they were going to be. And when you look at the people who are most passionate about taking their children out of public schools, many of them are educators because they know what is not working. They have had a chance to be in that system to see how it does not work. So last year, when my eldest child turned 5, we started a homeschool cooperative named Fahodi Shule. Fahodi is a Fanti word that means freedom, and Shule is a Kiswahili word that means school, so it's freedom school. and freedom from a lot of things, but primarily the freedom to be what their ancestors and their Creator have called them to be beautiful, bright, shining examples of Black men and women, to do all the things that Brother Kwame just spoke about, to be able to do for themselves, to be able to recognize their innate power and ability, their innate wisdom and intelligence, and move forward in that, and not to be dissuaded by any myth of white supremacy or anything that is telling them they are less than that. Last year we had 5 students. This year we have 11, and we don't look to be any bigger than that. A true homeschool cooperative works when all of the families are able to be present, but we know that may not always be true in our community. So we had a wonderful year last year, and we're looking forward to many wonderful years to come.
Mm-hmm. So last year was the first year, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And now, how many teachers do y'all have? Do y'all have a staff or anything like that?
No. So, well, let me go back to this. A homeschool cooperative would work like this. In a homeschool co-op, every child would show up with an adult, or someone, a guardian or something to that effect. And so, because many of our families can no longer be one-income households, we created this homeschool co-op, like there are a few others, and we support, the families in their desire to be homeschooling families, although they may not be able to be present the entire time. So I am a licensed teacher who is there with the children. We have another licensed teacher who isn't there, but she helps to write curriculum and lesson plans. And then there is another homeschooling mother who shows up with her children. So out of there's 6 families, and out of those 6 families, 2 of us are hands-on a daily basis.
Okay. So is there like a tuition or anything? Is there a set fee that y'all charge?
Yes, although we work with people. So we, our tuition right now is $125 a week to allow us to cover. We do a lot when it comes to curriculum, because we're not going to use the things that are in the public schools. We don't want Harcourt Brace and all of the other things that are being fed into the
What'd you say?
Harcourt Brace is one of the curriculum that's in the school.
Okay.
And Houghton Mifflin, all of those things, even though people believe they're innocuous and that they're not dangerous, they are always sharing the cultural value system of the dominant culture. It's written into everything. Right. So we create a lot of things. It's for supplies, for materials, to make sure that we have assistance. This year we have been asking Community Walimu, Community Walimu, and Walimu is the plural form of teacher in Swahili, to come in and share with our students. So we've had teachers from the community come in and do yoga and movement classes. There's a sister coming in to do yoga on Friday, art classes, various things, so that they're getting perspectives from more than just me. Okay.
Now, do you have some extracurricular activities and things of that nature that they participate in? I mean, like sports activities or outdoor hiking or anything like that?
Right. So we did have the brother who came in to do the movement class, and prayerfully he'll stay with us throughout the year. In addition to that, because when you have a homeschooling group, the homeschoolers, if it was just me and my children, we'd be home every day, and we would go through whatever curriculum we were going to do, whether it's written curriculum or I'm just something they were interested in. I decided to create a lesson around that, or we went to go do some educational experiences, going to museums or going to festivals or things that were surrounding what they were interested in. Then you have to build those things. If my daughters they are in Taluma, which is a culture for my kids, education and dance company. And so they do their West African dance there, and so they're learning traditional rhythms, and they're learning the meanings for them and the dances that go along with them. So almost all of our children are involved in that.
Okay. So that's almost like theater type.
Well, they are the group that performs that shares at our annual Kwanzaa celebration.
Okay. So do y'all have people that associate with the school sometime coming in,
yes,
doing things?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Those are our Community Walimu. So
okay.
And so the more that we have that are interested, we welcome them to come in, so that for 2 reasons. So they are getting more than just what the other mother who's there with me is Mama Tiffany. So they're getting more than just what I or Mama Tiffany are sharing with them, but that they also realize that this is a true village and a community, and that every adult they come in contact with that is committed to them, they don't call the adults Mr. and Mrs., they call the adults Mama and Baba. so that they are aware that every adult they come in contact with cares about them as their mother and father.
Right.
And that are not responsible for them in that fashion.
Yeah, that's African culture. You know, every child is our child. You know what I'm saying? Western civilization, you know, this is my child, you know what I'm saying? And that's your child.
Right.
And that's how we've become,
right,
you know, as a people. And we get that because we go to their educational system and we watch their TV shows, their programmers to think that way also, you know.
Right.
Now, I do a little acting.
Okay.
And I played this part called Thornton.
Okay.
Thornton was one of Gabriel's lieutenants.
All right.
Do y'all teach about Gabriel?
We haven't gotten to him yet, but we will.
Okay. Well, I would like to perform my piece for y'all.
We would love to have you. We would love to have you. Just let me know. And Bobby Iman Shabazz, he's supposed to come and do something in the same vein too. Not Brother Thornton, but he's supposed to come and do some soliloquies, you know, like spoken pieces from the perspective of various sheroes and heroes. Yeah,
this basically is a true story about one of his people, and back in 1800, you know, when he led the revolt to basically what the American so-called founding fathers said this country was about. You know, all men were created equal.
Right.
And that's what Gabriel's rebellion was about.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't about us overthrowing them and killing everybody. It was about us being respected as men and women, you know what I'm saying, have the equal rights just as Europeans had and everybody else here in this country. So, you know, he's a very important person in our history. And I'm sure that I never learned nothing about him when I was coming up in school. I mean, but I also went to school in New Jersey.
Okay.
But from my understanding, the children in Richmond, they learned nothing about him.
No.
But they definitely learned about, you know, Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and all the rest of those slaveholders. You know, Thomas Jefferson, you know, all of them, George Washington, they had enslaved African people.
Yes.
You know, but none of that's taught in the books. You know. Now we having this thing, it's a situation going on with the mayor's trying to put a stadium down south of Bottom. Do your school have a position on that? Do you think that a stadium would be appropriate down there? Or
No.
You don't think, okay.
The families, you know, we are a coalition of families. So our desire is never to get any bigger. We are not trying to create, you know, I know it's still an institution, but our intention is not to make a freestanding Shule. So the views that we share are still views of the families. Many of the families, when there was the Shango Fest down at the African Burial Ground, many of the families went and participated. Fahodi Shule came out of a collective called Umoja Temple, and it is families from various traditional practices who come together to share them. Even though my background is ministry, our family practices a traditional African system. And so we gathered regularly at the African Burial Ground. So it would be a complete disservice to have that covered up with a stadium.
Well, it's not going to be exactly there, but it's going to be real close to it. But there's a lot of history right there, you know, where they're trying to put it at also. And so, you know, we're on the forefront trying to prevent that from happening. Also, the school, now, do y'all have certain hours of the day?
Yes. So I'll tell you about our morning. And forgive me, any parents that know this is the season where everybody gets sick. We've all come inside together. All the children are sharing everything, so excuse me. Our morning starts at 9 o'clock. The doors open at 8:30, and so we are in our home. And it's set up like a classroom. Like if anyone gets a chance to visit the website, the classroom looks a little different this year, but for the most part, that is what it looks like. And they come in, and when they come in, there's morning work. So morning work is what they're doing in preparation for the day to actually begin. And the things that they are doing are unique. There are proverbs that they're doing, African proverbs that they're using those for their handwriting practice. Or they're writing them down and then writing what the meaning of them is and how they can apply that in their daily lives. Their cursive practice, some of the children who practice Akan traditions are writing down the names of Abosom, which are the deities, and the deities may not be the right word, the energies, the intercessors, the saints is maybe the closest thing in the Akan system. Some of the children are practicing cursive with their genealogy line. So they're doing their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents to learn those names. And then when they complete that, our day starts with libation. We pour libation to our immediate ancestors and to our national ancestors.
Oh, so they come in there doing things, but even before
the day officially starts,
that's
right?
Really, okay.
Because the families show up at different times. So, but by 9 we are starting, and when we pour libation, the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey is on the wall, or Marcus Mosiah Garvey is on the wall. There's Sekou Touré and Kwame Touré, Miriam Makeba, Ella Baker, Mary McLeod Bethune, Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King, Betty Shabazz, and El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X. There's a wall full, Ya Santua, who are all on the wall so that they can see them and become familiar with them. And we pour libation, and when we finish with that, we do the National Black Anthem. We do the UNIA RBG Pledge by Amy Garvey. And then we move into our day. So we'll go through the calendar. They also have some movement, dance, and some yoga. And that's how our day starts.
Okay. And so, like those, that ritual right there, that's like a reaffirmation or something like that each morning. It kind of like grounds them and centers them and get them focused on the task at hand. And I think that's something that the public schools, they need that.
Right.
But our children not getting that, and they're not going to ever get it.
No, we're not.
Schools, you know what I'm saying?
No, they're not.
You know, but it's really important that they see those positive images on a daily basis and hear those positive words. You know, to affirm their, who they really are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're so busy trying to be something that we're not.
Right.
You know, and that's our detriment. You know, so we engage in self-destructive behaviors because it's impossible to be something that you're not. You know, until we learn to accept who we are, we're going to continue to stay in this condition that we're in today. And you know, what you're doing is a great thing, but how can we, expand African-centered education in the communities? You know,
the thing about I'll read you this definition in just a second. The thing about African-centered education, especially the way that we're speaking about it, is this is a quote by Kwame Akoto of Nation House in Washington, D.C., and it's been used by Mwalimu Burudi and numerous others, Samori Kamara, when speaking about African-centered education. But one of the things that he asserts is it is foolish of any parent for us to believe that we can entrust those children that the Creator has given to us, that the ancestors entrusted us with, to someone else who does not care for them the same way, and believe that they are going to come out anywhere close to what we've been charged to make them. So when it comes to the thing with making it a humongous large system is that the families have to be involved. We're not, when we have interest meetings, we say, we're not looking for just your children, we need your family.
Right.
So if your family is looking to be a family that drops their children off and then has nothing else to say until the grades show up, maybe, then this is not for them.
Okay.
So it works better when it is a smaller group, or that if it was going to be a large group, that there will be smaller cells inside of it. I know each and every one of these children's mothers, and they know if I pick up my phone, it's coming. Like, you're going to get it because your mama knows me. It's not some, abstract, that's just Miss So-and-so. These children know I've invested in their family's well-being. We see the families on a monthly basis. So we're family.
Okay.
Can I share this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the definition for African-centered education by the Akotos of Nation House. And it says, African-centered education is rooted in the unique history and evolved culture of African people. It is defined in its singular commitment to the elucidation of African history and culture and the perpetuation of the African collective identity. It is concerned with the origins, the current status, and the future of the African world. It is committed to correcting historical distortions. It is concerned with fully developing the sense of African nationality within a broader Pan-African world. It is concerned with severing any linkages of Africans to the European or Asian ethos. It rejects the implicit and explicit superiority of European and Asian cultural traditions. It rejects the false historical notions, that Asian, Arabic, and European civilizations rescued Africa from barbarism and godlessness. It seeks to restore the traditions of Africa to prominence and revitalize those traditions and imbue them with the liberating and progressive dynamics of nation building. So all of that to say is we start from us. we start from us. Mwalimu Baruti says this is not an alternative education. This is our education. He said the other things are alternative.
Right.
This is what should be first. One of the discussions that me and one of the other mothers have had is just like when my children are born and the breast milk that my body makes is specific to those children, I was chosen to be these children's mother. And with assistance from people in the community, I'm the one who my husband and I are the ones who were chosen to see the vision for who those children are going to be. Right. So this is our charge. It's not something for me to go hand them to somebody else and then say, I hope you don't damage this precious value that I've been given.
Yeah, I wish I had that information when I was your age.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and and for many of us, we're trying to untie.
Right.
We studied Marcus Garvey, and we of course are not done, but we've talked about the children understanding what being Pan-African is, right, and what is a diaspora, and what does it mean for us to be connected. And we talked about when you go to a family reunion, your family lives all over, but they're family. Right. And so we've had that discussion. So the funny thing is people will have this discussion talking about the curriculum they're getting. And yes, we choose curriculum, specifically for a purpose. Our story, because we don't call it history, our story is Molefi Asante. We're doing classical African civilizations first, and then we do African American history, and they're his books. So although we'll be studying American history, it'll be from the real perspective, right, and it'll be from the ones we stand in.
Right.
But the other part of it is that when we talk about like the logos, the law of European civilization, the pathos, what they feel is what their emotional center is, and then the ethos, like what is their moral center, what are their ethics. It doesn't take any time for a child to be programmed with that stuff in school. I have babies who are, they're not babies, but I have children who are 7 and 8 who have just come to us this year out of the public, charter, private, because they're all the same. People make you think they're different. They have the exact same aims, who have come out of that system, and it's little things that they've already been indoctrinated. When we talk about all the children in the Shule being brothers and sisters, some of them, they're like, what are you talking about? Right. They have already been programmed to see things
as individuals.
Individuals, and so sexual that when one of the children says, I love you to another child, they think they're trying to come on to them. Right. These are children. They're 7. So, just how early, when people want to talk about, oh, well, we made it and we came through this educational system, and thinking about just their pen and paper education, but the socialization that they're receiving is fast. And so
I think they get a lot of that before they even get to school.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So,
it's in the TV.
Right, because that's the babysitter. The
Right.
And it's such a damaging tool.
Right.
It is. So what's the age range of your school?
We ask that people don't send their children so they're 3 and potty trained.
Okay.
But 3 to 9 right now.
Okay.
And their academic ages are actually pre-K to 7th grade. So we have a 5-year-old who's reading on the 2nd and 3rd grade level, a 9-year-old who's reading on the 7th grade level, because we're not, the history of our education system is set up, if anyone gets a chance to go check out this movie, there's a movie called The White Man's Burden, Schooling the World. Or, I'm sorry, it's flipped, Schooling the World, The White Man's Burden. And it talks about how the educational system, I know you've heard this before, is based on an industrial system. So it's based to create worker bees. It's not made to create critical thinkers or people who can independently think or look for new ideas. But not only that, the 1% made up what the children are supposed to be taught at different ages. So as soon as our children are able to learn something, we teach them. Right. They're not on any
timeline or something like that. When they're ready to go, you move them forward, because they'll get bored. They lose interest, because I know this. Why am I still here?
Right.
I'm ready to, because children are curious. They want to learn.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you feed them, they're going to absorb all that stuff, and they're going to keep on going. Yeah. But, and that's probably why a lot of our children fail. They drop out because the system is just not designed for us, So, like, y'all have like a cutoff time? Can somebody come to your school like in the middle of the year or anything like that?
the middle of the year is about the end of where we take them. Right now, we are actually at max because we're not looking for any more than 10 or 11, but we have a child who may be leaving. And so it just means that we'd have to sit down with the family and see what it is that they want and talk to them and make sure that what we are doing equals what their aims are for their children. Because our aim is to just support what the families are already doing.
Right.
Although all of our parents can't be physically present, all of our parents do their own lesson plans for language arts and math for their own children because they know their children. Quickly, I have two. My youngest is a baby, so he is learning things though. Like when we put our Black Power fist up at the end of the National Black Anthem, he's doing it. He's a year and a half. So, but my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old do not learn the same way. The 5-year-old is very visual and very auditory. If you tell her something, it sticks. You don't have to say anything else to her. It sticks, and she processes it, she understands it, and she'll say it back, and she'll use it in her own way. And she can see something and do that. My 3-year-old has to touch it, and she has to be able to use it, and it has to be somewhere where it's applicable. So there are 9 different learning styles, and one of the things we ask the parents is, what are the styles that work best for your children? Because in the public school system, they do everything visual and auditory, and if you don't get it, you're out of luck. But there's music and there's social, some people may grow in groups. So the reason we ask the parents to do the lesson plans for language arts and math is because homeschooling curriculum is not built like public school curriculum. Public school curriculum is built for 30 children or more. Homeschool curriculum is built for a family. So it may be, 5 to 8 children, and it's built for that child. So it's not carbon copied, it's tailored to. There are math books that you can get that are written in like cartoons, and the bubbles have the talking bubbles have the questions and the word problems in them. Okay. So that's the other thing. So it's a little more work than driving up to the school, putting your child out, and picking them up at 3:00.
Cool. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Just want to make a quick announcement in case anybody's out there looking at this show, listening to this show. We are live, and you can call in if you have any questions. You can ask. The number is 804-915-5202. Again, that number is 804-915-5202. If you got any questions, or you want to give your opinion or anything like that, just give us a call. We'll be glad to, give you some feedback if possible. Now, what is when you say you got they go out? Is that 9 years old? Is
my oldest, and that's just right now. But our focus is elementary school. Okay,
so how old is that when elementary school is over?
Usually 11.
11. Okay, so you're trying to. So that's basically what you want to.
Well, we won't stop. It's just right now our children are grouped into names according to classical African civilizations. So our Kemet group is our youngest group, and they are 3 to 5, 3 to 4. Our Nubia group is like 1st and 2nd grade, and our Ghana group is 3rd and 4th grade. Right now, it would be 3rd, 4th, or 5th if I had a fifth grader. But even with that, the children in those groups, sometimes they're well above elementary school. What I would like for my own children, and that means we have to talk to the other parents when we get to that, is Afia and Wakesem Medzimoyo from Atlanta have an online African-centered education called AYA. It is bad. I mean, those children come out of middle school and high school on a junior level in college. Wow. And so what they do, that is where I would like my children, but what you aim for is to have, it's not just that you plug your children into the computer, you're aiming to set up a satellite. So it would be that families come in, each child would have 2 guardians that come in, during the day, 1 in the morning and the afternoon. They give the children a chance for physical exercise, recess, whatever it is in the afternoon. And then in the mornings, they do things where there's intergenerational transmission of stories or history or, whatever. And they are doing things they are studying Araminta, Harriet Tubman. They are studying her from her birth name, Araminta. And they are studying various parts of American history through her.
Okay.
And when they study,
from her
yes,
worldview. Okay.
from where she was walking. So, like one of the questions that we heard asked was, on one of the times that that she was conducting the Underground Railroad, she had to leave, and her brother's wife was pregnant. So the question was, well, do we leave? And you're so close to, delivering. What should we do? And so they asked the children that question, and then they tell them what really happened, and they ask, why would you do this and why would you do this? Mm-hmm. So Harriet takes her brother, and because his wife says, you go and then come back and get us. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what they do, but it's so much that they ask and causes them to have a critical eye about, how would she make these decisions, and what did she do, and what was at stake, and why did she do these things? You don't get that in public education.
No, you never get that.
Right.
Now, let me ask you, do the students teach other students?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. The one of the other things we're trying to do in centering them in being African, because we talk about the fact that we are African, and then helping them to understand that Africa is not a country, that it's 54 nations, that there are thousands of cultural groups and traditions and languages and all those things. But because there are those three different groups, we expect not only for them to help each other in their groups, but that they share that with other students. So for example, we are entering the 3 seasons of classical African civilizations. So our smallest ones were coloring pyramids today. And we watched a video on Kush and their influence from Kemet. The older ones had vocabulary words that related to the lesson. So the oldest group defined all of their vocabulary words. The next group wrote them 3 times each so they could be familiar with them. And then we have discussions. We call on the ones who did the various things to share them with each other.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm really glad that you're doing this, because, I'm thinking back when I was in school, up in New Jersey, and I went to school. Oh, we got a call. We're going to take this call real quick, and then I'll get back. Hello, welcome to Word from the Point. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
I'd like to tell a young lady, I think that it's good for her program to be teaching the younger kids the culture of Africa, because Africa is where we all come from. Yeah. And that's one thing that's missing now, that you don't know where you came from, so how can you know where you're going? And I'm sorry that she seems to have a cold. It looks like I hope that she feels better. But just continue doing what you're doing, because young kids, if they ain't learning off of their little tablets, then they're not learning at all. And so take the tablets out their hands and teach them stuff that that we were taught. I think that's missing in society now, because I guess when all of us were growing up, we didn't have tablets and computers and stuff. You actually had to read a book.
Yeah, right.
And,
tight.
So it's a good thing that her program is doing that, and I'd like to thank you, sir, for bringing this show on here.
Well, I appreciate you listening. What's your name?
My name is Tony.
Okay, Tony. We appreciate you listening and calling in and giving us some feedback.
And like I said, I hope you feel better.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too. Peace. Yeah. But when I was saying, when I was coming up in school up in New Jersey, in middle school, I wanted to learn about my history. I think that was when I was getting curious about, what's really going on. So I took ancient history class.
Okay.
Guess what they taught me? They taught me that civilization began in Greece.
Right.
I mean, there was no Africa nowhere.
Right.
Egypt, but it wasn't in Africa.
Of course.
It was a whole different place. It was like, and it's just, it's just sad, that our parents at that time didn't really realize what integration was doing to us.
Right.
I mean, they because when I lived in Newark in the beginning, and most of the schools in Newark were African. They were black teachers and stuff like that, and they cared about us.
Right.
I can remember I was a sharp student in elementary school, but then we moved to this European township called Piscataway, which was like 90% white. And, I just, for some reason, lost interest. I just lost interest in education, and I just drifted to school, got my high school diploma, you know, because to me, education, I didn't see any value in it.
Right.
You know, I just didn't see any value in it. And it's really important that our youth understand how important education is, but how important an African-centered education is for us. It's really critical, especially in these days and time where, you know, they get this message where it's a post-racial world, where it's worse off now.
Right.
I mean, it's just as bad as it was before. Like the song we heard before, police brutality is still
Right.
going on. You know what I'm saying? We got a slave ship right down on 17th Street. It's a new prison, but it ain't nothing but a modern day slave ship.
Right.
You know? Let's grab this call real quick. Welcome to Word from the Point. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, when I graduated from high school, like 1969, and my great-grandmother used to, she born a little bit, I think she was like a little girl during slavery. And I knew her, and she used to tell me stuff. The people on the plantation taught her how to read, and she'd get upset when she see kids that didn't want to go to school. And she used to tell me, if you came along when I come along, I wish I had the opportunity.
Right.
But really, what really opened my, Carter B. Woodson put out a book called Miseducation of the Negro.
Excellent book.
And I read Soul on Ice. Back in the 60s, it was real revolutionary.
Yeah, they neutralized
it was
that though.
Black Pride, and James Brown put out Say It Loud. You know, so everybody was into brotherhood back then.
Yeah, afros.
I think the brother know what I'm talking about.
Dashikis, afros.
I had dashikis, and I mean it wasn't like it is now.
No, we had the big medallions and stuff like that.
Revolution. I mean, men, all that, you know, doing the dap.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and it was just it was an opener. I was a teenager, so that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And coming up in West Virginia, I went to an all-white high school, and it was maybe 86 blacks.
Wow.
So I had to come south to learn. I just going to school in a black school. When I first came south, I was in heaven when I went to school in Nashville, just seeing a bunch of black people.
Right.
Okay. Or seeing a black doctor. I had never seen that.
Right. Yeah, images are real important.
Kids, when you see something, then you want to imitate that.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
All right, thanks for calling. You go ahead.
Along with what the brother said, even we're getting hit on all sides. So, you know, the school system is not working for us, but it's not working for most white children either.
Right.
So, you know, when he spoke about being in school, being able to talk to his great-grandmother, children, they're plugged into Facebook or tablets and you know, it's not that those things would be terrible if they were a small part of their day. But when it's the totality of their day, and they're not talking to anyone, so he got the chance to hear things from his great-grandmother and be able to hear lessons that she taught. So that's being lost. And then you have a educational system that is becoming poorer and poorer as the years go by.
Right.
And that's by white people making movies. When you see Waiting for Superman or the movie I just mentioned, The White Man's Burden, Schooling the World, these are white people critiquing the American education or the European education system. The other thing that he said that I appreciate is, you know, I went through much the same thing that you did, where I started looking for, you know, I wanted to read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I read Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice and
Miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah, Miseducation of the Negro, and Elaine Brown and The Taste of, you know, all of those things, is being able to show our children the connection between the things that their families have been doing and where they come from. You know, not just that everybody else has taken from Africa, but that we are doing things that are inherently African and that those are being lost every day. When the brother was talking about giving dap, I was in Ghana and I saw these two old sisters. They were old enough to be grandma. They gave each other some dap, pulled their hand back, and did like this.
Okay, right.
And I was like, what? Like, that's really... So, you know, the other day, my husband was showing the children how to greet each other. And we were talking about the fact that when you greet each other and you're African, you are greeting that person, their family, and their future. You know, their past, their present, and their future. You are concerned with their entire realm of being. That when we talk about, you know, many of the children that I'm teaching, of course, have never seen Cooley High, but they may have heard somebody talking about pouring something out for the homies. And so, you know, even connecting the fact that that's a libation.
Right. That's right.
That there are places where, you know, we think it's okay to honor everyone's ancestors but ours. And when we honor ours, people have made us think that we're worshiping our
Devils
ancestors.
or
Right. As long as we are driving down, what is that, Monument or Boulevard? Which one
Monument
is it?
Avenue.
Monument Avenue, right. With all these
barn.
statues.
Right.
We do that, and we come down streets that are named Washington or Lincoln or whatever have you.
Or Lee.
Yeah, that too. And
Jeff Davis.
go to schools named after folks. So there's ancestor veneration happening all the time. It's just not our ancestors.
Right.
So, you know, just giving them the chance to see that everything in some way or fashion has started with the continent and spread outward, to see the value in that, not in trying to establish another hierarchy or saying someone is supreme, but knowing their value and knowing where that's connected.
Right. Yeah, if anybody want to get more information about the school, the chalet that she's running, we're going to have her website and her information posted on the screen. So get your piece of paper and pencil out so that you can write down the information. And, you know, she may not have some room in her school, but I'm sure that she can probably help people get one started.
Yes.
You know, if other people want to get one started,
Yes.
you know, she can probably put you on the right path to get that happening. Because we need these. We need these desperately in these days and times.
These are our present-day Maroons. You know, you hear about the Dismal Swamp and the Maroons, where the enslaved Africans who were liberated, who liberated themselves, went and set up societies in Maroons where they were able to operate as independently as possible. These are our Maroons. So when we, you know, the way that the homeschooling works here in Virginia, because the homeschoolers in Virginia don't play. Like, there are many, many white homeschoolers in Virginia who make sure that their laws are right, that they are making sure that the legislation is working for them. That is who the largest homeschooling group is. It has taken us some time to catch up with the fact that the house is burning.
Right.
You know, if they're running from the house, we need to pay attention that the house is burning. So any parent with a high school diploma can educate their own child. A college degree, of course, would be preferred, but anybody, you can educate your own child. If you are a licensed teacher, you can educate other children.
Okay.
And so, you know, we work on this together. And those things are all listed on sites like HEAV.org is the homeschoolers.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
To be a licensed teacher, it means that you have to be licensed by the state? You had to take their exams? And all
I
that?
had to.
Okay.
So because I used to be in public school, now that I'm not teaching in public school, there are still things that I can do to keep my license current.
Okay.
So there's curriculum that I've written, and those count toward me recertifying.
Okay.
Classes that I take for my own professional development that does the same thing.
Okay.
So and it's like a bar that teachers have to pass you have to re-up every like 5 or 7 years. So yes, and then there are organizations that are for us, by us, like our Shule is a part of CB, the Council of Independent Black Institutions. And so they will have a science expo this year. So the exciting thing for me, I don't know if they can see me if I stand up on camera, but I have on a lapa. Our uniform for our children, our boys wear dashikis. And they can wear dashikis and or pants that match, or the pants and a plain shirt. And our girls wear lapas or something that is reflective of African heritage, because we want them to be reminded all the time. We don't want them to come in with cartoon pictures of European superheroes or those kind of things. We don't celebrate any European holidays. We are reaffirming who they are.
No European holidays?
Not at all. No, we don't. No, we don't. We will tell them about Kwanzaa when December hits. We will talk about the Umoja Karamu when November hits. We will do Black Love Day by Sister Ayo when February comes. And we will tell them about other things that happen in there that do not parallel, you know.
What about Mother's Day and Father's Day?
I don't know that I did anything inherent there, although we don't have any problem with them honoring their mothers and their fathers.
Right.
But the problem with those other three, with Thanksgiving and Christmas and Valentine's Day, is there's no root in honoring anyone except the dollar.
Right.
You know, except the dollar. So we don't want them to feed into
capitalism.
Yeah, a capitalistic thing that's trying to eat what their understanding of spirituality is. Yeah.
Right, put you in debt.
Right.
Yeah, making you buy stuff you really can't afford. Yeah. So, but once again, you want to give out your information about the school,
Sure.
where it's located?
Okay, we're located in the East End, and it's our home. But if you visit our website is Fahodi Shule, www.FAHODISHULE, and that is fahodishule.org. And if you visit our site, you'll see what you see the pictures of some of our teachers. You will see pictures of what the children have done in the past. We've had community teachers come in and teach capoeira. We had a grandmother who stayed with us for much of the year last year, so she was able to share her personal perspective on segregation and Jim Crow. So they'll see those kind of things, and they can always send us a request for information through that website.
Let me ask you, now, I know that your children are probably too young to participate in any, public school curriculums, but if you're homeschooling your child and say they're in the middle school, in Virginia, can they participate in any extracurricular activities at a public school, or?
Now, they're supposed to be, so forgive me, Brother Kwame, because there's a legislation that passed a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's been doctored. It used to be that you could.
Right.
And then that came up being contested. There are things that you can still do, though, because your tax dollars are still paying. Like, we're not saying that everyone has to go out and build it all for themselves, because there are resources in your schools that you can use. So if your school has a science lab and they will allow you access to it, you may be able to come into it as a co-op. If there are Spanish classes being taught, or other languages being taught, those kind of things, and of course sports, you have to check with your district, and then HEAV.org is a good resource to see where those laws currently are, to allow them to do that. Because there are still a lot of homeschool students who participate in those, those aspects.
Activities. Okay, right. So do you, are there any other schools like yours that you know of in this area?
I don't know of any here. I know that Sister Sia, who used to run Nubian Village, she does a STEM program, science, technology, and mathematics. STEM program, and she's based out of the Trinity Family Life Center. And so she does that with different children. I don't know of another organized co-op like us, but there are many African-centered homeschoolers. And some of them meet up at different spaces, but not that I know of with a name attached to it like that.
Okay. So how long do you think you're going to be doing this?
As long as they need educating. What we want for them is to, we want them to remain family with each other. We talk about, I want to make sure that you all hear this too, there is a Liberated Minds Expo that happens every year in Atlanta. There's a sister named Queen Tace who does that. So if you are able to make it, they will give you resources and be able to center you and, help you out on your way.
I'll grab this call real quick. Welcome to Word from the Point. You have a question or comment?
Yes, I have a comment and a question. I'm Cheryl, and I want to commend the sister on what you're doing to educate our kids about Africa and their heritage, something that is definitely needed in our community. But the question is, with so many negative influences coming from the Western culture, what do you teach them as far as what to look for or to keep from succumbing to so many of the negative influence that comes from the Western culture? I mean, what do you tell your students, since they have to be here in this culture, and how do they keep from just succumbing to these influences? Do you teach them about some of these lies, or, just break down some of the strategies that the Western culture used to kind of keep them in a certain mental place, or is it pretty much just African history based?
All right. Well, we thank you for calling. We're going to answer that. We're going to hang up and answer it for you, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so that's a good question. European culture continues to teach us how they work. They show it all the time. So the problem with the general education is that it's hidden. What we do is we go through various parts of when we do social studies, we tell them the truth. When we talked about the Hutu and Tutsis, which the genocide that you see in Hotel Rwanda, we tell them why it started.
Right.
We tell them about, and these are little ones. These are children ages 3 to 7. We tell them that the Europeans showed up and created that discord between those two people in order to cause them to fight, in order to allow them more access to their resources, to allow the Europeans more access to the African resources. We have shown them, and it's not something that we have to pull out because it is there. So when we talk about, we went through 34 different African nations last year. In each one, there is somewhere where the Europeans have attempted to colonize, where they've come in to take resources, where they've come in to disenfranchise the people who are there. So the children can tell you, these are little children, can tell you that you need to be careful because Europeans are often coming to take something that does not belong to them. And we see that in gentrification. We see that in what Brother Kwame was talking about with disregarding so much of the history that's in Shockoe Bottom to try and put up a stadium to pull more capital and money in above the value that's there. So they centering them, teaching them African-centered education does not mean that everything else is forsaken. It means that we start from us and we start from our shoes. We don't teach them to try and be white to navigate this. We teach them that there are things to look out for and that they need to be fortified in what we are and to pay attention to how things have happened, that they keep repeating. These are not new things. The things that happened in Angola where Queen Nzinga was fighting, those things are happening in Shockoe. They happen in New York. That people move into communities that have been completely African-American, that people are pushed out of where they are, that their traditions and the ways that they're doing things are subverted, and that something else like a Starbucks or something is thrown up on top of that. So they are able to see the parallels between that and this.
Right.
And that's how we teach them.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on our show and sharing, this information with the people, because it's really important that we take our children back and educate our children and give them what they need, to prepare them to go out here and make this world a better place, you know what I'm saying, because they're not getting that. I think that the public school system only teaches people to become better educated slaves. I'm not talking just about African people, I'm talking about everybody that goes through there, become a better educated slave, based on, or worker bee. Go out here and make money for somebody in Wall Street while they're making record profit. And the people out here in McDonald's and wherever, they can't even buy food or medicine or pay their rent because, they can't, the money that they're making just don't cut it, So one of the things that we have to do is start supporting ourselves, and creating our own businesses so that we can employ our own people. And I hope that's something that is also included in your curriculum, entrepreneurship. If you're going to go get a job, get that job just as a training to learn what you need to learn so that you can go out here. But we're going to go off the air, and I thank you again.
Thank you.
We're going to be back on the air next week. We're going to have the founder of the Virginia Hemp Company talking about hemp. It's going to be a very interesting subject matter, and I want everybody to we thank y'all for tuning in. And
standing up for what's right and demanding equality. How many know that we were never set free? We've got to join together as one, or we're gonna fall together as many. We've got to set our differences aside and let unity be our guide, and everything will be alright.
Now, when we first organized the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, he would say, Bobby, he says, we're gonna draw up a basic platform, just basic, that black people can read. He says, we don't wanna go real elaborate with all these essays and dissertations and all this stuff, because the brother gonna look at that and he can say, man, I ain't got time for that. I gotta go see what I can do for myself. It's just a basic platform that the mothers who struggle hard to raise us, that the fathers who've worked hard, that the young brothers in school who come out of school semi-literate, reading broken words. He said, we just want a basic platform to outline black people's basic political desires and needs. First, we want an immediate end